kind of got permabanned as well. That or the Ashe. We are going for Ambessa. BLG, what is our first pick? I think a Varus is going to give you so much flexibility here, just being able to have that as a potential top laner. And they're hovering it right now. NIP, what is our response going to be? We don't have very many options to play into some of these ranged champions. It might just be a Gragas coming through for Hoya. There's that Pantheon.
Yep. All right, so the Pantheon Aurora, a lot of map pressure and burst ability for NIP here. Against, like you mentioned, BLG likely to put Viper on that Varus, unless Ben has something in his bag that we only know really for Hoya. And where does Shun want to go for matching junglers? I expect him to select something here. Will we just get boring and go for the classic jungle matchup we know of this year? It looks like it. Xin Zhao versus Pantheon, Game 3 for your jungle matchup.
I am very interested into what we are going to do in the later portion of this draft, because NIP won, so BLG had first selection, and they chose first pick. I think as we get further into a series, you want counter pick all day, every single day, especially if you're going to have a Varus top as a potential. You're going to be getting Knight on his LeBlanc. Now, he did lose the last LeBlanc game, but he still looked pretty damn good doing it, and Aurora is still fairly capable of being able to trade competently versus this. So we're getting a misfortune here for Assum. Takes a little bit of that carry potential out of his hands. It does require for his team to set up, so I think a Nautilus ban is going to have to be really respectful here from BLG. Otherwise, going to be maybe having to think about supports and different interactions that allow Misfortune to be really strong.
Well, speaking on those supports, I think this kind of forces Zhuo to play, you know, some sort of, like you're mentioning, setup champion for this bullet time. You could sometimes, you know, circumvent that and get it out of jungle, but Pantheon doesn't necessarily, you know, play in that sort of style. He's a single target champion. Yeah. So I'm curious if Zhuo is going to have to, like, kind of get typecast into maybe not a Rel. I don't think Rel's is good, but, like, you know, Nautilus, Rel, like some of these tanky engaged supports, because somebody has to set up this bullet time for Assum.
Like the Renata ban, I'm looking at what else we have seen from On so far. Could always be afraid of technically Emilio, but we actually haven't seen it from him this year. And if you're wondering what that Nefiri ban is doing, Nefiri has been one of the most common answers into Varus top lane. Yep. So something that Hoya hasn't played, but you always have to be super respectful of this being an option. And Malzahar, are BLG under the assumption that this Aurora could be a flex? I like the idea. I like the respect that they're showing.
And it won't
but Gragas, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is a staple Hoya weak side pick here. So he'll go for his Gragas where...
Wait, we're getting support counter pick. Wait, this is where I think the Gragas can be a bit of a mistake. I feel like I would have wanted to see the support, but maybe you're worried that on the big bag of tricks he has as a player, he has something up his sleeve.
You know, it's also a little bit daunting to, you know, pick some of the, you know, some of these picks that can go in to these engaged supports like we always talk about. You know, Markley the Alistar can really ruin matchups like Rel. So, I don't necessarily hate it, but yeah, that does kind of put Hoya in a precarious spot. Will be the Alistar locked in here for On, and what does Ben want to play into Hoya's Gragas? We are still waiting for Ben to get back to that really pinnacle form we know him for. It's been a rough couple of matchups for Ben. Even in this series, he's made some big mistakes, especially we think about that Game 2 Baron fight. He's just going to lock in the Scion to look to play for team fight. And BLG come away with a pretty low damage comp, I have to say, Dimitri.
Depends on what version of Varus this is going to be, because if this is Poke, you're in a really good position. They're going to move. Ooh, wait a minute.
Is this support
wait
Silas?
A minute. Is this? It could be support Silas. This could also technically be Pantheon support. We'll see what this ends up being. The Silas going into mid versus the LeBlanc. You're going to be losing early. We're playing a spicy... I mean, support Gragas into Alistar. I'll take it.
I mean, yeah, that we talk about how Alistar can ruin some engaged supports. Well, Body Slam ruins Alistar. I mean, I am completely bewildered. Is this looks locked in? I don't think we're changing anything.
Do we really want to play Aurora into Scion? I mean, sure, Scion is going to get HP. He's going to be pushed in a little bit early. I think this is a dangerous gambit. NIP have spent the last 2 games getting slammed in some of these 1-on-1s and 2-on-2s. We've seen some versions of NIP take the win, but
it's locked
honestly,
in.
I got to respect for them. I got to show a lot of respect for NIP to put trust in their players and say, we are going to be able to play a competent early game and then move into the next part of, you know, the mid and late game where they've consistently been able to bounce back. I'm just worried, Slayer, because it takes one Gragas ultimate onto Viper, onto even this Xin Zhao, and you can be in a world of trouble, but similarly, that could knock a lot of champions out of the bullet time, which is kind of what I'm worried about.
All right, so I had to go back and make sure. Zhuo does, in fact, have 2 Gragas games in his career. Yep, under his belt. He has won 1 of them. So this is technically not a first time for Zhuo, but it is definitely a very unique look here.
But that Fan Chan leader, he got completely griefed. I don't know, he spent way too long on the leading the Gyos there. So we got out of sync, but Game 3, Slayer. Game 3 on the cards. We're getting a Hoya, Aurora. I wonder if the matchup changes now with Deathfire Touch. It does give you a lot more kill pressure versus these tanks.
We'll have to see, because we already see Zhuo really punishing this on Alistair level 1. He turns around to get the pulverize down, but Zhuo showing off some fancy tech here, and it already has the BLG bot lane a bit back on the ropes.
Also win for Cleanse from Assum, so maybe just worried about if he gets hit by a single piece of like a chain of corruptions, it makes it more difficult. I'll see what the application of this is going to be, because typically I would just love to see things like Barrier protects you on the recall if you really need it, and for Misfortune especially, taking damage is extremely critical. We're talking about keeping up the strut passive. Junglers are going to be going to the same sides, but we saw an early invade from Guwon and some vision that will run out before we see Shun move into the top side.
All right, both junglers pathing alongside each other. Despite the fact we see this Hoya Aurora in the Sion matchup, what we can expect is what we're seeing. He's constantly getting pushed into bin, throwing these waves under turret, so that is going to be a pretty big pressure point for Guwon to try and track behind, especially if both these junglers run into each other at that top Scuttle Crab. The way everything's currently slated, Hoya is going to be best equipped to move down if there is a fight. But at the same time, I also think that Guwon, the Pantheon clear is just a bit faster. Believe he should get this blue buff done before the Krugs are completed for Shun. So Shun is going to go for that recall. Yeah, I think he realizes it's very unlikely that I get this crab. He's even going to ping it and make his way to trade the bot Scuttle Crab himself.
And On just got back from a recall, so he moves into bot side river, gets vision. Very important, I think, for BLG, especially because we also saw Knight put down his ward on the Raptor pit, so they know, generally speaking, Guwon should be on the top side of the map. I'm going to leverage the fact that my support is out first, and so we'll get ourselves to equalize the lead between our 2 junglers. Looking already, Assum was able to get a recall. This is Viper with teleport, so missing a combat summoner spell. Uh-oh, Care. Uh-oh.
Oh, boy. Immediate flash. That does not feel good.
And the wave is pushing away from him. I was going to say maybe could have affected the jungle matchup, but yeah, Shun still is able to finish this. If you're looking, why do we have this massive lower third? Xin Zhao got a lot of changes.
Oh my god. Changes we don't care about. Double flashes on, goes for the alley sec into Knight's chains, and they will get Knight. First blood here. Care, remember, already burned that flash, but Assum coming on over with tons of damage himself. Shun gets that kill. TP coming through. This is Viper rejoining. See if he decides to go for anything. Hail of Arrows is going to land. Care is not going to stick his recall. We are trading auto attacks. We are not stopping this fight. His Knight will find Assum. Care has to abscond over the wall, and Viper's TP pays off. BLG come away from our first scrap ahead.
Yeah, Knight has a shutdown at 4.5 minutes. 2 kills going over to him. Gets the Ignite, and, I mean, beautifully played. Gets around the teammates of Assum, lands the chains, and Viper then kind of over top throws in an arrow with his W active. So, very, very well played coming in from BLG. And all about the coordination here with On and Shun. 2v3, you're always going to win this, and I think just perfectly coordinated with the fact that Viper can always TP. I am now extremely excited for BLG, but very worried considering our mid-jungle just basically got their game ruined early.
Yeah, it's like, it's a classic LPL conundrum, right, where we get our very wacky fighting, like full-scale fights. Oh my god, the value on that arrow was so high. But now, yeah, how do our junglers pick up the pieces here on either side?
Well, for Shun, it's now, hey, I'm going to cover my mid lane, and Kerr is completely screwed in this matchup. Like, he has D-Shield plus Merc Treads. Zhuo.
Oh my god, Zhuo, he's going to flash body slam, and all of a sudden, Shun gets it turned on, and Kerr gets the kill.
All right, Guwon, you saved the game. We somehow got a kill in this play. We were playing 3-on-3, 6 minutes into the game, and I want to note, part of this is actually incentivized thanks to the role quest changes. I know we haven't talked about it a lot here. We hit it at the very top of the show and some of the bits after that, but they have made it so that staying in lane isn't as rewarding for all of our champions. There is the passive role quest experience that you get for being in your lane, but now there's less of a penalty for leaving your lane early on. So we're already seeing our team starting to index and play around with that timer.
And the biggest benefactors of it is definitely our supports. As you can see, both Zhuo and On are chilling in this mid lane, looking to gather some experience of their own. Maybe not role quest, but experience. And this is an ever-evolving thing we're going to see. We've talked endlessly about how support, we have a lot of supports in the LPL that still like to look for the roams, and On is definitely one of them. As we see another lower third come out there to show off the Grog has changed. I actually didn't even realize the Grog has got a slight change. Seems to his W.
I don't think it usually matters, especially because it's Grog's support. Them brothers, you just put the points in your ultimate, and
your E.
You're gonna, yeah, you're just gonna be sitting there. The W Drunken Rage does give you a flat DR, so I'm like not super unhappy about it. And also, I'm gonna continue talking about this top lane or about this role quest thing. Basically, they put every 2 minutes you spend in lane, you get a 1 minute of grace time to roam without penalty to your passive progress. So just trying to make sure that you can like roam a little bit and opens up plays for a lot of different lanes. It's mostly for top, mid, and bottom lane, but I imagine for supports it's also not the worst. First Dragon of the game for BLG is very, very good.
Yep, and they're going to get it with no contest. So it seems like with this change, we're kind of making it so there's going to be consistent timers that supports can now look for roams like you're talking about because of these grace periods. So I wonder how these supports are going to try to, further, bring some further ingenuity to finding those timers closer to big things like, dragons or maybe grubs, where this game we don't have a big grub fight. It's just going to be Guwon that is knocking them down on his own. We'll see if he decides to leave one. Nope. I believe he's secure. Yeah, he's going to secure all 3 here. So first dragon for BLG, traded for the 3 grubs over to the ninjas.
And Zhuo's mid again. We've got the pyramid around mid lane. 3 people on mid every single wave for the rest of the game. I think that is how we're going to see both of these teams operate, how spicy this game is going to be. And, Grubs is nice, Dragon is great. Talking about how these comps are going to interact, I am going to say for BLG, I favor how, I guess, linear this fight can go. You're going to have great front line. Viper is usually just going to get a lot of spells off, and similarly with Knight, the burst is there. NIP don't have like a traditional front line. I mean, it's Gragas support. The golden experience just isn't going to be there to support that. And Pantheon can only tank for so long. So damage for this team is really going to have to come in Silas finding a really good ultimate to steal, whether that is the Alistar or the Varus. and this bullet time kind of having to layer over top with Hoya.
Yeah, the bullet time here, like, we applaud the creativity, this draft, and the flexibility that IP have put together, but I feel like the biggest loser of all of this is Assum. Good luck trying to get innate value out of this bullet time because there is very little setup for it, and to maybe alleviate that wound for NIP fans, at the very least, Assum. We haven't really seen that lethality MF build come out that tries to maximize the bullet time. I'm glad to see a lot more misfortunes are going back towards going PTA, rushing the Bloodthirster, and then playing for those more expensive items. And that is what Assum is going to do. So MF is going to have a lot more value in her auto-attacking ability in this game. But
Assum, you can't walk up to this. That is an insane bullet rain there.
Wow. That is lane saving.
That's probably game saving, honestly. Like, not dying, not losing your flash, that is an extremely good boon to have. And they spot out Shun, so this back from Guwon is not going to feel all that bad, and it's just information gained, essentially for free.
All right, despite all that, BLG still up about, nearly 1,000 gold. Most of it, really all of it, is into Knight's pocket here. So we'll see how quickly he can get done. What I believe will be, what is this? Is this like there's a lot of things I guess Knight could go for with this first item, but he's got three people coming to his lane. He tries to blow up Care first. Flash from Guwon, gets the stun, but the clones come out and that buys Knight just enough time to get that kill with Ignite onto Care. And Guwon is getting chased down by Zhuo. Zhuo can't cover him anymore because the Crescent Guard knocks him away from his own jungler. And Knight picks up 2 more kills. Knight with all 4 kills for BLG in this do or die game 3.
And they've already committed to the lane swap. Viper walked top lane and now is going to try to fight off against Hoya, who's going to TP. Maybe just to simply cover for him. They dropped a lot of this bot wave. I'm actually pretty interested to see where and how we got to this scenario. Maybe they were trying to set up on top side. You saw a lot of pings. Man, Care, this is a really bad death to have here. I mean, he's just trying to get the minion wave, and they thought with Guwon he was going to be able to survive that Ignite and the damage here from Knight. Probably just going to be Luden's companion, like just burst out, have heavy frontline damage. There's, again, no tanks, so you really don't have to worry about getting the Blackfire Torch Blaze or the ability haste. Just a great play all around. It is a 1,500 gold lead here for Knight. Another game where we're looking at the mid lane of BLG finding an advantage.
He's got the Dark Seal stacks. He's got 4 of them. Already got his mid lane quest done with those Sork shoes, so any early MR from, Mercs, for example, that Care is sporting, that sort of magic resistance is going to be somewhat mitigated. And, despite all of the ups and downs BLG have had in this series, not just to throw game 2 away, but nearly throwing game 1 away, you can always go back to old reliable that is Knight in these big pressurized games. Oh, good explosive cast there from Zhuo. And I think Owen is completely dead here. He's going to flash away. Zhuo will follow flash body slam. And a long enough slow means Guwon's spear finds that kill as the dragon hits onto the rift.
An insane timer for NIP to find because that opens themselves up to grab this dragon. I mean, we're neutralizing some of these other lanes. Varus is pushing away lanes. We're seeing LeBlanc consistently find success in the 1v1 and the 3v3s. But right now it is just a very good find, I think, from NIP to be able to punish on who even didn't use the ultimate. We saw it in that last play when he was diving and he was tanking turret shots. The Unbreakable Will made him really, really unable to be taken down even with turret shots.
Yeah, interesting to see that he just holds on to that ultimate. It's not even like there's anything that he would want it for, or like very soon after that death. We have Herald, I guess, in a minute 16, so really want to prioritize having that for a Rift Herald play is my only real thinking for holding that ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, just making sure it is level 1 Alistar ultimate, so I'm just going to real quick check. 120 seconds. It would have been a very tight timer.
Yeah,
so,
it would have been tight.
Yeah, it would have been like basically right as it spawns, which is not all that bad. But either way, still, is BLG with a 1,000 gold lead. NIP are fighting back. And I remind everybody, this game is super important for both teams, obviously, but for BLG, getting to 8 wins is essentially like a soft lock for getting them into top 4, which is an immediate bid into playoffs. And for NIP, it's for them to kind of bounce back and get themselves in position to try to contest for top 4. So if they can win this game, they have a 2-0 series advantage in the head-to-head versus BLG, which is, I think, very, very important when we're looking at some of the other teams around them in the standings.
I'm glad you noted that catch-up potential for NIP as well, knowing how much now JDG, after their series win against NIP, have skyrocketed ahead of NIP, and also AL off of their slow start have gone very, very far ahead of this squad. So for all those, can this team be a real true top 4 team? Well, in the standings department, they've got to start winning some of these series to actually threaten that top 4.
Oh, Care is in super poverty land, though. This guy is applying for all kinds of welfare benefits, no matter what state. I'm sure Demacia has great coverage, but we're 16 minutes in almost into this game, and he has a catalyst. And now he's the one that's facing off into Bin. Like, if Bin wants, and if Silas takes a few too many bad trades, he actually can just solo kill him here.
Are we sure that Demacia would be giving Silas the coverage he needs? I think we picked the wrong spot for Silas. I think his rap sheet may ruin it.
Look, I'm sure Lux would make an exception. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Play to the heartstrings of Lux. That is exactly
welfare,
how to go about it.
Look, you know, affordability for all, fast and free Griffin rides. It's just like New York.
Demacia to New York link. All right, that is a 7:17 in the morning sort of conversation to be having here. Let's focus shift here over to the Herald that has been started by BLG. Owen has the unbreakable will. The dude's holding on to that whole time. And, well, there isn't a fight really to be had here. We have switched up lane assignments, though. So, Kara's TP top side. Bin's now matched up against Hoya. And Assum was looking for a walk there. Yeah, but he was spotted. So Bin backs up, and the Herald goes over to BLG, and they should surely use that to try and increase their gold lead. Hopefully to somebody not named Knight, as his gold lead is more than the gold lead that BLG currently holds.
It was a good timer, I think. Probably not going to be fighting for the Herald anyway, and Care got his recall, teleported top, now has his Rod of Ages, which is going to be a 27-ish minute completion for the stacks. And because Misfortune's strut passive is very OP, she got to walk from mid to bot and came back just in time for the wave. They lost very little for that. So BLG will take a small gold lead thanks to finishing off the objective and some extra errant waves, but all in all, it is a fairly neutral play on the map. Ooh, they might try to play heavy numbers. They don't know that Viper TP'd.
And Care is just routinely getting punished. He's going to get chained down. Dodges with the distort onto the chains of corruption, but he distorts right back into Viper. And BLG are right back in their bag of in the mid-game, we are going to look to punish side lanes. It's the theme that has been here in all 3 of our games tonight.
Knight's going to pick up this wave. Can NIP control? Because while that was happening, NIP were just walking back from base.
Guwon has to use the Aegis Assault as Shun threatens the 3-talent strike knockup. There's that turret down, and, well, Knight's showing no signs of slowing down. Thought he might try and take one of those plates away, but I guess wants to give respect over, or maybe just get a reset out nonetheless. And, yeah, it was for an item.
Yeah.
So, Shadow Flame completed. Good luck, all you squishies.
20 seconds before the dragon. NIP, if you are listening, Maizajan, sorry if I butchered your name as the coach, please tell your players from the ether, we are not contesting this dragon. We are looking to side lanes. We are picking up the gold. You're able to finish some items here. Man, a Knight in the mid lane. 2.5. This is very reminiscent of game number 1. I mean, maybe there wasn't a bot lane absolute explosion Armageddon that happened, but it just transitioned into mid lane. And Knight, again, has a lead. I need to see him close this one out with his team. And this is not as dire of a situation, especially if you can get 2 dragons early on. And finally, no Cloud Soul.
Yay! Let's go. It's so funny, though, that we get a Mountain Drake in a game with no tanks. Well, I guess there's Alistair. Oh, and Sion.
And Sion.
Well, sorry.
There's no tanks for NIP.
Yeah, unfortunate for NIP. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all.
You know, it's funny, though, because if you give Mountain Soul to MF and she has BT, that's just like... The lady's running around... Again, full coverage. She's got complete protection. And shout out to the LPL sponsor. So, Dragon's going to be started. Aurora's starting top. Probably is not going to TP. Let's pick up our way. Karen needs to get gold. I think that's the most important thing in my mind right now. How as NIP are we getting gold into the Silas's pockets?
Okay, Strutt passive OP. Decent look there, Bin.
See, if he was in Demacia, he would have had a Griffin to show him. Again, fast and free rides.
Again, though, Sion, I don't think is going to get a lot of leeway in Demacia. The characters you are picking to get coverage in Demacia, like we couldn't have said like Garen or like
Xin
or like Xin Zhao. Like I would maybe even hear out Shyvana knowing her relationship with Jarvan. Like no, we're going for a Noxian and a traitor Demacian. All right, Assum's going to need a Chains of Corruption. He's turned around with the bullet time. Hey, Viper's got to flash away from it. Forces Assum out of his cleanse.
All citizens of Demacia are loved. All of her beautiful patriots, except the
I'm going to start talking about food.
Disgusting.
I'm just going to start naming food. I'm going to start naming food.
It's Care, actually. Care is a nice, delicious plate of free 300 gold whenever BLG want it.
Free a 300 gold meal to whoever would like it. Mostly Knight. Oh, man. All right. Oh, we have another Aaron TP on the mid lane? Oh, okay, it's on. All right. Well, listen, he wasn't scared to burn the Alistar ult that time.
There's nothing to play for. Dragon's up in 3 minutes. And it's like, it's a cooldown I don't need. Silas is showing top lane, so that brother's not stealing my ultimate. Hell yes. I've got to say, though, for as much praise as I've been wanting to give to Hoya, I'm very worried about this champion. This Aurora champion does not look like it is doing very much.
No. And you know what the one benefit for Knight here is that with this draft from NIP? He knows how to play LeBlanc into both Silas and Aurora. So it's not like he's very well versed in I'm sure in the LeBlanc Aurora matchup and the LeBlanc Silas matchup. So either one of those solo lanes that are being very ineffective for NIP can get these hands from Knight.
But I bet he's never played against Hoya's Aurora. Thought about
that. That is likely factual. Herald, though, is definitely tussled with a lot of mid lane tier 1 turrets. Boom. There goes Shelly into that IP. Mid lane turret. Isn't down just yet. BLG, though, will just push up his 5 and force the thing down here. So that is a key structure to get because now all these ward lines from On, Shun, and company can move on up and, most importantly, move up around this Baron.
It was already fairly easy for them to move and get vision thanks to Knight getting this top tier 1, but especially with this top tier, or this mid lane now going down, it is obviously easier for them to move up vision. I think it is also very, very difficult for NIP to play towards mid lane and have someone like Assum play up when he has to be afraid of potentially someone flanking him, whether that's from top side or bottom lane. Yep, he's level 15 to 13.
Yeah, he also, what is Guwon going to do with him? They can't go after him. Oh, boy, they've caught Zhuo. Nice Chains of Corruption there from Viper. Explosive cast too little too late. And Zhuo has been picked off here. Yeah, BLG are dominating the side lanes. And you talked about how useless this Hoya Aurora feels like. How about the fact I have yet to see Guwon ult? And we are at 23 minutes. I'm pretty sure he hasn't ulted.
That is not his fault as to why his Silas is not being in the game right now.
It's not his fault, but he is also incredibly useless to try and help this game state. Oh boy, Knight.
Look at my lanes! Look at my lanes! I'm not gonna blame Guwon for this, man.
I'm not
my fault
blaming
that my mid lane. I know. But
okay.
my mid has literally 0 pressure. My Aurora is playing into Sion, right? So the push is kind of null and void after the first couple of waves. So he knew that there was a ward. This is just a good punish. I don't know, Zhuo just not giving a ton of respect to the Alistar engage, maybe not knowing that all of BLG are in the area. And that was 2 turrets taken, mid and bottom lane tier 1s, now gone. Wanted to check in on some of these inventories because they are kind of getting a little bit interesting. Knight having himself the Verdant Barrier, so now he has a mini spell shield. And look at Assum. Bloodthirster, LDR, Hex Drinker.
BF Sword.
BF Sword. Infinity Edge, please, because he needs damage at this point.
Yeah, I just always find it funny when we build those components. No, yeah, this is the build. This is the Misfortune build that I subscribe to. That will allow you to be decently potent in later fights. Still going to be a tough task to try and get rid of Bin Sion, and also this Alistar, but this is the build you have to go to at least stay competitive in these 5v5s. Will we finally have our first 5-on-5 here?
It's
okay.
TPing, and Knight is on their way. If Knight goes down, that's a 900 gold lead. He is massive in this game, and he will dictate whether or not BLG can contest for this dragon.
He also can one-shot anybody that doesn't have Aegis Assault up, a.k.a. anybody that's not Guwon. I guess Kara has hijacked the Unbreakable Will. He's going to go after Zhuo. That's a really good Crescent Guard, though. Gets Kara off of him. Guwon has to flash away from Decimating Smash. Kara still holding on to this hijacked Unbreakable Will that makes him a lot scarier of a threat. But Knight double distorts. He finds Hoya off to the side, and goodbye, Hoya.
Not respecting Knight's LeBlanc jumps over the minion wave and one-shots this Aurora. Dragon Soul Point given over to BLG. And Knight is like, I am not losing again to Care. I am not losing to Ninjas of Pyjamas again here. We are ending this game. We're getting ourselves up to the Dragon Soul Point.
We will always be very critical of how BLG teams perform. We will, you know, look at, okay, let's first off, let's test this bin health bar.
No.
Oh my god. You know what? I didn't think they'd do that much damage, but I guess Bin isn't as, you know, tanky as I thought he was. Oh,
he doesn't have the armor. He doesn't have the armor. Okay,
armor.
they're going to teleport. Oh, Zhuo just gets sacrificed instead. Okay.
Worth.
Yeah.
All right. Support diff, am I right, everybody?
We got the top, we got the TP, and we got support. So how did they spot this, by the way? I guess Knight is just keeping track that Hoya's on this side. Hoya gets chained up before the minions. Clutch look from Knight. Just, again, we already went over the play, so... this is also some of the problems I have with Gragas support, is that unlike Alistar at least has the knock-up, he has the knock-back, but Gragas, if you just stand on top of him, he can't even use his body slam to get out. So... you look at his items, he's got a McHale's, he's got a Locket. He is incredibly squishy as a champion. And so, will be interesting to see. It is now Care, who is only half a level down, if not a little bit under, has completed the Rod of Ages and the Riftmaker. So, this is the point of the game where I think NIP are going to be not at their apex, but at the most relevant considering what we saw early on.
We'll definitely get towards a pretty close apex once Assum gets this IE done as well. I think it's a huge mark for him to try, especially if he can try and outpace the armor that needs to come through here for Bin on this Scion. He has all that health, but it's pretty easy for that to be shred by this Misfortune. We just have to see if you can get the most out of this MF's kit in these fights. But BLG are continuing to kind of play that 5-wide style. They're not really looking for any of these 5v5s. Mainly because if we just let Knight continue to cook on these side lanes and threaten either Care or Hoya, we can find a pick off that and then look for the Baron. I like just letting Knight play whatever style fits best for him, and for LeBlanc, it's always threatening to just blow somebody up on a side lane.
Everybody else is fairly even. Like, it's a 500 gold lead in jungle. To me, this doesn't really matter. Bot lane is fairly even. Like you're mentioning, getting value from Misfortune is going to be in the bullet time, and maybe that's what Hoya and Care are here to do. They're basically just playing global taunts. Here, come pick me off, try to kill me, and let the bullet time give them success. Here is that ultimate.
There's the first Grand Starfall, and it's matched by Chains of Corruption and also a whole lot of TPs. Hoya's going to hop over the wall. Bin has a lot of shield that's going to have to be chewed through by somebody on NIP as they are bullied out of the top river here. But BLG, they're still looking for picks. They can't really force a Baron and look for a turn. They need to respect the 5v5 threat that this comp from NIP still holds, because their mid laner holds all that gold lead. Knight continuing to look for distorts, finds Change, looks for more poke damage. Whoa, down to half HP already off of one mere spell from Knight, and, well, another piercing arrow comes through for Viper, and NIP are really forced to back up further from where they are. Knight over the wall, oop, gonna spot Care, and lose his spell shield.
Now, the onset of that play, I actually think is advantage to NIP because you got the TP out from Bin, so that's not going to be something that's available for this Dragon in a minute and a half. However, the second half of this play is where I start to have issues. And maybe the third act.
Yeah,
oh
act.
My god!
Oh my god! Guwon from 40% HP to 0% HP. Viper wanted in on the one-shot parade. Bullet time, going to force a split between On and Bin. Bin very low, On with the Unbreakable up, but Zhuo goes forward the body slam. and is slammed back towards the fountain. Guwon and Zhuo down, and now BLG feel confident enough to go after Baron 5-on-3.
No, I don't think we're going for Baron. I think we're getting this scuttle. We're greeting out for one more jungle camp and then looking to reset. Dragon's up in a minute. Some of these spells will not be up, but I don't think it matters. I think you're going to take the advantage that you have out on the map right now. Very, very explosive fight. I mean, Guwon disappeared with a single Varus Q. That was incredible to see a disappearing act coming in from BLG's AD carry and their setup around this mid. What I was saying is the second half of the play is that, oh, we actually took their top tier 2 and we got to push into mid, so NIP are basically fighting for scraps on a mid wave and they get no ability to set up on the bottom side of the jungle. So BLG now just gets to threaten. This is Mountain Soul. There is the Mikhail's down.
Yep.
No Chains of Corruption, but everything else here for BLG is up on the table.
Good luck walking into a LeBlanc with 3 full items completed and a book that is only stacking more and more pages as time passes. Shun with the GA on towards the dragon. His care already has to expend that hijacked unbreakable will. BLG can play patient, try and wait for that timer that makes care a lot less of a threat here. As NIP trying wrap around the top side to force a strong flank. But On holding strong, still also holding on to that ultimate of his own. As Care will lose access to that unbreakable will, becomes a lot squishier. Dragon already down below 2K. Guwon's going to have to go for a Q spike steal, but that's a great crescent guard from Shun, and he secures the Mountain Soul. Also pushed out of the fight already with an exhaust over top, turns to the bullet time, catches On, out in with it. So the only kill that goes down is going to be On, but BLG are the victors, securing that Mountain Soul.
Mountain Soul is going to do wonders for keeping this team alive, and any chip damage that NIP had is essentially non-existent. You can still see that MF is doing a lot of damage, and I won't lie, Slayer, I really thought the look there from NIP was decent. I mean, Care's ultimate was coming back up. When you're level 16, this cooldown is super short, so you can get multiple cycles if it's a long enough fight here. Now you're going to have to chew through Mountain Soul. It just gets more and more difficult. Awesome on 4 items now. Fully completed Maw of Malmortius. Infinity Edge is done, and the turret's going to go down.
Oh!
Awesome is dead!
Knight is juking around all of Awesome, flashes out just in time, and the duck does not land from Care. Knight, like a ninja on his own right, just out ninja the ninjas the way he takes down Awesome. Guwon does get back out until the unstoppable onslaught comes through from this Scion. Ben hits his mark, and Shun's wind becomes lightning. Zaps back Guwon.
Man, you call them ninjas, I call them thieves in the night there. BLG come out massive in the heist, getting that pick, and really just beautifully played here from Knight. This is why this guy is in MVP in contention almost every single split of LPL in modern history. The Baron's going to go over to BLG, and it almost feels like these are the last finishing pieces that they're going to take to finish off this series.
Finishing off games has been the absolute boon of this team in this series. But like you mentioned, Knight playing like this, he is not going home a loser today.
Dude, look at this. I know it is Viper who ends up getting the last tick of this, but just perfect dodge. And then this. Oh, just barely dodges out, and I thought it was maybe going to be the little LeBlanc clone that blocks it. Doesn't even need it, just is able to sidestep. Not going to say that that was completely the Mountain Soul shield, but you have to imagine the Mountain Soul shield definitely helped in that manner.
Made a difference, yeah. It made a world of difference with how low that health bar gets. Knight now 6-0. Got more Medjai stacks. He has the Banshee's Veil as well that provides him so much extra safety whenever he looks for those aggressive distorts. It is just Knight's game, and he is running it how he sees fit. And NIP are yet to find an answer. Hoya looks for between worlds, but a double distort. Oh my god, there's the Grand Starfall. Knight's out of cooldowns. He's going to get blown up. Whoa, that is nearly 1,200 gold into the pocket of Guwon.
We have Baron. What are we doing as BLG? We should be staying here. We should be trying to race them. It does not matter if they have 4 people in a wave. We have 3 on the wave. I mean, it's going to be 4-on-4 around mid. 4-on-5, I should say. 40 seconds for Knight. Can NIP even battle? There's no minion wave to play for.
Oh no! The second cast Chains of Corruption caught Zhuo, and Viper deletes him. Crescent Guard forward, look at Shun. He's blocking all of that bullet time, and he's going to re-engage. He has the GA. He can play confident, and then with the way Viper is hitting these arrows, why not keep pushing forward? Knight did the heavy lifting early, and Viper looking to be the closer on this series with a quadra kill to boot. Ace to Bilibili Gaming.
And they still got the minion wave, and guess what? If Knight really wants to, he'll make his way. But I think the family photo is just going to be with 4 from BLG and a purple worm right next to them. BLG closing out this game.
Well, they definitely took a little bit of the weight off of Knight's shoulders there in that final fight. And here comes what could potentially be that final push. It's only Zhuo that is now up. The next person to come through will be Guwon and Care. But they're still 15 seconds out, and now Own gets to play a bodyguard away from this push. That will be it. It took a lot more than BLG wanted to wager, but they get their revenge on NIP. 2-1 series win.
Moving up to 8-2, man. Just a beautiful sight to watch, and especially the way we were able to get to here. Just an insane series. Going to 3 games.
It really is.
And Slayer, there is a reality where this is a 2-0 from NIP again. With that game 1 performance, it was a last-minute save from Shun that brings them to this point in the series. I don't know who else to give MVP for the series. It's either Shun or Knight.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad I don't have an official wager to throw out. That's my opinion. I maybe just default it to Knight, man. That's never a bad choice. Maybe that's a bit of a cop-out. You know, at least there was a shining light at the end there. The BLG do kind of win a fight without Knight to kind of, I know I already said it, but like take some pressure off his back. BLG, we can be really critical of a lot of their players, how they perform, you know, not necessarily being on point, closing out games with macro. Though reliable is always just going to be Knight kind of saying, all right, guys, I'll win us this game. We're good. I've got it. So that's all reliable. And again, like you mentioned, BLG probably shouldn't have had to go to something like that. But hey, it's awesome entertainment to get to see Knight pick up, like you mentioned, his first LeBlanc win of the split, I believe.
I feel so bad for the NIP fans who have to watch this team like just stumble at the very end. But I gotta say, man, these games are incredible. Like, not only just the comebacks that happened tonight, but like games 1 and 2 versus Top Esports were incredible to watch. They actually almost beat Top Esports in that first game, and Tien and Cream clutch up at the very end. And then game 2, we're playing like a Nivea versus Lee Sin. And Ninjas in Pyjamas are probably the most entertaining team right now here in the league, bar none. And the Game 3 draft, it was wacky. I think they really put a lot of faith in their players to try some of these off-the-wall, really niche picks. It didn't end up working for them, but it's this kind of experimentation that I can only hope is going to bring them further wins later on in the season.
We can only hope will bring further wins, and for now, as you mentioned, we really appreciate the entertainment value it brings. Let's, though, take a look towards those updated standings, because you heard all talk really a lot about it. 8 wins is becoming the cutoff threshold for top 3, and, well, here's the visual aid to see why. 5 and 6 right now, 4 and 5, 4 and 6, NIP and IG, so BLG really feel protected. I know a lot of you at home didn't expect them to ever have to fight for their playoff spot in any sort of like Knights tournament or play-in tournament, but they virtually now have locked in any doubters that wasn't going to be a reality, any doubters that BLG would not be a top 4 team heading into playoffs.
Yeah, as long as Top Esports and AL get to their 8 wins, it essentially like locks, especially Weibo. The only team that's actually locked in this group is WE. They can, no matter how many games they win from this point, they are going to be bottom 4 going in. So they're going to be playing one best of 5 versus a Group Nirvana team to make their way into the playoffs and keep their place in Ascend. But I just love how close this 5th or 7th is. They are 4-5, 4-6, 3 and 8. It is not that far off. And the most important thing you guys at home need to think about is game differential. The fact that they are one game off from each other and a few games off towards the bottom means that really anybody could start to leapfrog each other. And it just means that schedule becomes that much more important. last topic before I move on and we can continue talking about the series. If Weibo lose any more series from here on out, it is almost impossible for them to make top 4. I'm going to continue my Weibo hate train. I'm done supporting this team. Them brothers are lost. I'm sorry.
You're done picking that team too. That's where most of the hatred comes through, guys, for Ulk Batteries. That Weibo have been the boon of his predictions. It's the classic, if I pick them, they lose. If I don't, they win scenario for you. And I know it's been weighing on you.
Thank you, Top Esports.
Yeah, thank you, Top Esports. As I'm sure this night performance is weighing on NIP in this one. Again, I really enjoyed the ingenuity of this draft, but things got a little too wacky early, and the one guy you couldn't allow to have that big of an early lead was Knight. And the one thing that I think he does really well and BLG did well in that mid game was really not ever finding themselves in like a 5v5 spot to get hit by a big bullet time, to allow a big flank to come over or allow this Silas to use Unbreakable Will against them. Knight was constantly playing sideways, and BLG were just, constantly finding these nice picks to really accrue a big enough gold lead that they couldn't throw this time.
I think we just got to see the massive skill diff in mid lane. Like, last game, we got to see Care, who was on probably his signature champion at this point in his career. His Ahri is one of the best in the world, and then seeing him on the Silas, unfortunately, the lane was already ruined incredibly early, and Knight just completely got to style on all of Ninjas in Pyjamas. And sure, the draft was creative, but we had our questions coming in, right? We were like, if Assum has been our best player, is MF really the champion we want to have him on? Is this pick is flexing the Aurora top lane really something that is going to give us value, especially because we ended up giving counter pick to our support here.
Yeah, and especially knowing that we really felt like Zhuo needed to pick something that would set up this misfortune instead of indexing into countering whatever Own was going to bring. Yeah, I think they got a little too cute with the draft, but it is still a very valiant performance for NIP. Just barring any sort of, BLG catastrophe with the rest of their series, we are very much so looking at this split as NIP being the team to give the best run at BLG through the double round robin. But unless anybody else decides to step up and take more series off BLG, which there are a few remaining chances for teams to do it. Some teams don't get another chance at that, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, BLG is kind of running towards the end of their season here. They only have 4 matches left. NIP right now, they are kind of in a similar boat, but they have 5 series, so there's a little bit of a discrepancy between our teams. We are getting to the point where everybody's around 9 and 10. I think actually now, with this final series, we are at 9 and 10 for everybody, so oh boy. That is a good look for BLG. I am still a little bit, I think they're a bit suspect right now, especially the way that they started, but whether it is them warming up, it is kind of their first game that we have seen from them since Wednesday, so you can maybe chalk it up to starting off the series a little bit cold, but I think we definitely saw a lot of disrespect to their opponents, or at the very least, just a lack of preparation and confident enough shot calling in the mid game, especially games 1 and 2.
Especially, indeed, those first 2 games here. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. Don't need to give me a player of the game for game 3. It's Knight. There's no conversation. Yeah. You said Knight or Shun. We're not going to get to see player of the series here because of the interview. Who is your player of the series here, Dimitri?
Real quick, I'm just going to go check I'm going to just check scoreboards real quick because sometimes you just got to scoreboard watch for a little bit. I would really have to say Shun. I think that game 1, he obviously has the game-saving play, and he also starts the game off for this team. I think Sejuani was actually fairly decent, but a lot of things didn't end up going right for them, and obviously we talked about what ended up happening there. And then this game number 3, just watching him kind of pilot around on the Xin Zhao, being kind of like a frontliner, and also playing the 3-man core around mid with On, set the game up for success for this team. I know it was, Guwon and Care, they made a few mistakes, but I really feel like him and Knight worked really well with incorporating the support and winning this matchup and controlling the map from there on out. So if it is anybody, I do feel like it should be him. Knight did kind of have like a I wouldn't say a stinker, but a much quieter game 2 considering the Yone, but a lot of things that happened that game were not his fault. So it looks like we're getting a Shun interview. Good for him.
Cool.
Really happy for him. I also was going to say, if there's any reason for you not to vote for a Shun MVP, it should be because he actually stole the Penta from Viper.
Okay, yeah. Well, we've seen stolen Penta. Well, we had a Pentakill today, and then we in the same series had a stolen Pentakill at the end of that awesome Nirvana series. So you know what? I support that backing. I'm with you there. Shun will get the player of the series. Well, folks, we on the LPL English broadcast always end our broadcast by shouting out our players of the stream, a.k.a. our Elite Coffee supporters. And there are two people that I would love to give a big... I know you made fun of me last time for this.
I didn't make fun of you. That was Kai who was making fun of you.
I mean, that's a bad heart. I mean,
roommate Ilya.
It looks better from this... Whatever.
Just give him a shout-out, man.
Aaron Subinmong, thank you so much for your pledged financial contributions. They help level up the broadcast and give back to the Haston crew who strive to give you an LPL English project every single darn day. Except for the next 2 days, of course, thanks to the LPL schedule. So this will kind of conclude this block of week here, but make sure to come back here, Tuesday nights for us NAPST people into like Wednesday morning for a lot of you other people. We will be back in action with full-on Group Ascend. WE versus IG is that first matchup, and then Top Esports versus JDG. But we are done here. A 6-game day to close out this week. It was a pleasure, as always, to chop it up with you all, even if you're willing to give some Demacian funds out to whoever wants to come for them. We'll leave you with that issue.
For everybody.